Listen up. You're here to study medicine to understand the body, heal the sick, save lives. But let me tell you something. If you think medicine is only about the body, you're already behind. The greatest doctors in history didn't just know anatomy. They understood the mind, they understood human nature, they understood the forces you can't measure with a blood test focus, belief, discipline, and yes, even the mystery that surrounds things like meditation and astrology. Now, before your science, solely brain shuts down, understand this. Meditation isn't magic, it's mental surgery. It cuts out distraction, stitches in clarity, and strengthens your ability to think under pressure. You want to be a better surgeon, a sharper diagnostician, a more grounded person? Learn to sit in silence and wrestle with your own mind. Astrology, maybe you think it's nonsense, fine, but ask yourself, why have humans studied the stars for thousands of years? Curiosity, pattern recognition, the same curiosity that drives breakthroughs in medicine. You don't have to believe to learn something from it. Sometimes exploring the unknown sharpens how you see the known. You're not just learning to treat patients, you're learning to understand people, and people are complex. They carry stress, fear, hope, and beliefs that go beyond science. If you can't meet them where they are physically, mentally, and emotionally, you'll never be the doctor they truly need. So here's my challenge to you. Don't dismiss ideas just because they don't fit your current playbook. Investigate them, break them apart, see what's useful, throw away what isn't, but never stop learning. Never stop exploring, because the moment you think you've got it all figured out, you've already started falling behind. Medicine isn't just about healing the body, it's about understanding the human experience. And that the mind, the mystery, the discipline, that's where the real breakthroughs happen. Medicine isn't only about the body. Understanding the mind is just as important. You can memorize every page of every textbook. You can know every muscle, every nerve, every single chemical pathway. But if you don't understand how the mind works, you're missing half the equation, because a patient isn't just a collection of symptoms. They are a living, breathing, thinking human being. They carry fear when they hear a diagnosis. They carry hope when you speak with confidence, and they carry doubt when they don't feel understood. The mind influences the body more than most people realize. Stress can weaken the immune system. Anxiety can magnify pain. Belief can speed up healing. These are not abstract ideas, they are realities you will see over and over in your career. This is why meditation matters. It's not some mystical ritual, it's mental training. It's learning to control your focus when the world is chaotic. It's sharpening your ability to think clearly when lives depend on you. When you practice stillness, you develop a kind of inner strength no textbook can give you. You stop reacting out of panic. You start responding with precision, and that's the difference between a good doctor and a great one. But understanding the mind means more than mastering your own. It means recognizing that your patient's mindset affects their recovery. It means knowing when they need reassurance as much as they need medicine. It means speaking in a way that gives them courage. It means listening deeply, not just for symptoms, but for what they are not saying. Now, let's talk about exploring things you may not fully believe in. Astrology. For some, it's just superstition. For others, it's a belief system that shapes how they see the world. You don't have to agree with it to learn from it. You can study it as a tool for understanding human nature. You can see how people use it to make sense of uncertainty, and you can use that insight to connect with them on their terms. Because here's the truth, the best healers in history weren't limited by what they already knew. They explored, they questioned, they pushed boundaries, they looked at life from every angle, not just the one their training gave them. Medicine is about curiosity, the same curiosity that led to vaccines, surgeries, and life-saving treatments. If you close your mind to anything outside your comfort zone, you risk closing the door to the next breakthrough. So when you think about medicine, don't see it as a narrow science. See it as the art of understanding the entire human experience, body and mind together. Meditation is mental training that sharpens focus and clarity. It's not about sitting cross-legged and thinking about nothing. It's about learning to control your attention. It's about becoming the driver of your thoughts instead of being dragged around by them. In a world that's constantly loud, chaotic, and demanding, meditation is the pause button you need. It's the space where your mind stops reacting and starts responding. When you train your mind to focus, you don't just become calmer, you become sharper. You notice details you would normally miss. You process information faster. You make decisions without hesitation, and in medicine, that can be the difference between life and death. Meditation isn't magic. It's discipline. It's showing up every day, even for 5 minutes, and practicing stillness. It's building the mental muscle to hold your attention exactly where you want it, no matter what's happening around you. Think about a surgeon in the middle of a complex operation. The lights are bright, the room is filled with noise, people are moving, speaking, giving updates, but their mind is locked in. Every movement is precise. Every thought is clear. That kind of focus doesn't come from wishing for it. It comes from training it. Meditation is like mental weightlifting. The more you do it, the stronger your focus becomes. At first, your thoughts will wander. You'll get distracted. You'll think about what you need to do later, what you forgot yesterday, what's on your phone. But over time, you'll start to catch those distractions sooner. You'll bring your attention back faster. And eventually, your mind will start to stay where you put it. Clarity is the other gift of meditation. When your thoughts are scattered, everything feels urgent. You rush, you overthink, you make mistakes. But when your mind is clear, you see the situation for what it really is. You know what matters now and what can wait. You know where to act and where to hold back. You make better calls because you're not blinded by noise. In a crisis, clarity is everything. It allows you to think when others freeze. It allows you to see solutions that panic hides. And it allows you to lead with calm authority instead of fear. Meditation isn't about escaping reality. It's about preparing yourself to face it head on. It's about building a mind that can handle chaos without becoming chaotic. It's about sharpening yourself so that when life demands your best, you're ready to give it. Silence and stillness are tools for building discipline under pressure. Most people run from them. They turn on the TV, scroll their phone, talk just to fill the air. They avoid quiet because in silence you're forced to face your own thoughts. And for many, that's uncomfortable, but silence is where real strength is built. It's where you learn to stop reacting to every noise, every distraction, every emotion that tries to pull you off course. Stillness isn't laziness, it's deliberate control. It's the art of holding yourself steady when everything around you is shaking. It's the mental training ground for high-pressure moments. Think about a soldier before a mission. They're not running around wasting energy. They're calm, they're focused, they're conserving strength for the exact moment it's needed. That's what stillness does. It teaches you not to waste yourself on what doesn't matter. Under pressure, most people crack because they've never practiced holding still. They've never sat in silence long enough to know that discomfort won't kill them. They mistake movement for progress and noise for action. But when you train in stillness, you learn patience, you learn control, you learn to breathe when others panic. Silence sharpens your awareness. In quiet, you start to hear things you miss in the rush, your own heartbeat, your own breathing, the subtle shifts in your thoughts. You begin to understand yourself better, and that self-knowledge is a weapon under pressure. Stillness strengthens your discipline. It forces you to resist the urge to react immediately. It teaches you to wait, to think, to act with precision instead of impulse. Pressure exposes the truth about your training. When things get intense, your instincts take over. If you've trained in chaos, you'll respond with chaos. But if you've trained in stillness, you'll respond with control. This is why elite performers, athletes, surgeons, leaders all value calm before action. They know that discipline isn't built in the moment of crisis. It's built in the hours, days, and years spent mastering themselves in silence. Stillness also gives you the space to separate emotion from decision. When you're still, you can feel fear without letting it control you. You can notice doubt without letting it stop you. You can acknowledge pressure without letting it break you. And that's when discipline becomes unshakable. It's not about being cold or unfeeling. It's about being steady. It's about being the one who doesn't lose their head when the world is spinning. Silence and stillness are not weaknesses. They are training grounds. They are where discipline is forged so that when the pressure comes, and it will, you're ready to meet it without flinching. Exploring astrology can be an exercise in curiosity and pattern recognition. It doesn't mean you have to believe in it. It doesn't mean you have to accept every claim it makes. It means you approach it with an open mind, the same way you would approach any new subject. Curiosity is the fuel for learning. It's the reason humans have crossed oceans, mapped the stars, and developed medicine in the first place. Astrology is one of the oldest systems humans created to understand the world. People have studied the stars and their movements for thousands of years. They've used those patterns to predict seasons, guide travel, and even explain human behavior. You may see it as unscientific, but the act of looking for patterns itself is a deeply human skill, and one that's critical in science and medicine. Pattern recognition is how you diagnose a disease from a set of symptoms. It's how you notice the early warning signs before a condition gets worse. It's how you connect details that others overlook. Astrology, when studied as a system, trains you to observe and connect. You begin to notice how people respond to certain ideas, symbols, and interpretations. You start to see connections between belief systems and behavior. You learn how people use stories to make sense of their lives, and that understanding makes you better at connecting with others. When a patient believes in astrology, knowing their perspective can help you speak in a language they understand. You don't have to validate every belief they have, but you can acknowledge it. You can build trust by meeting them where they are instead of dismissing them. Sometimes a person opens up more when they feel their world. You isn't being attacked. And the more they open up, the more you can help them. Exploring astrology also teaches humility. It reminds you that human understanding has always been a mix of fact, interpretation, and imagination. Even in modern science, today's truths can be tomorrow's outdated theories. Approaching astrology with curiosity is a way of practicing that humility. It's a way of reminding yourself that you don't know everything, and that's exactly why you keep learning. Pattern recognition goes beyond memorizing data. It's about seeing relationships between things that seem unrelated at first. It's about finding meaning in complexity, and that skill is as valuable in the operating room as it is when studying the stars. When you train your mind to look for patterns in one area, you sharpen your ability to see them everywhere, and the sharper that skill becomes, the more prepared you are to solve problems others can't. Astrology might not give you hard science, but it can give you a unique way to practice the skills that science depends on: curiosity, observation, and the relentless search for meaning in the details. Not all learning has to align with traditional science to have value. We live in a world that often measures knowledge only by what can be tested, proven, and replicated. And while that kind of evidence is essential, it's not the only way humans have learned throughout history. Some of the most important insights come from experience, observation, and exploration beyond the limits of current science. Every scientific breakthrough we have today started as something unproven. Before germs were understood, hand washing to prevent disease sounded like superstition. Before electricity was harnessed, it was just strange lightning in the sky. Before brain scans existed, meditation was dismissed as mystical nonsense. Science caught up later, but curiosity came first. When you limit yourself only to what's already proven, you shut the door on discovery. You stop asking the questions that lead to progress. You stop exploring ideas that could change the future. Some knowledge is cultural. It's passed down through generations, shaped by trial, error, and lived experience. Some knowledge is personal. It comes from paying attention to your own mind, your own body, your own interactions with others. And some knowledge is intuitive. It doesn't always have hard evidence yet, but it points you towards something worth investigating. The value of learning isn't just in proving what you already believe. It's in expanding your perspective. It's in developing empathy by understanding ideas that aren't your own. It's in training your mind to see the world from more than one angle. Traditional science gives us structure. It keeps us grounded. It ensures we don't get lost in pure speculation. But non-traditional learning keeps us curious. It invites us to think creatively. It challenges us to consider the what if before the here's the proof. Think about how much of medicine once belonged to folk healers, herbalists, and midwives. Much of it was eventually tested, refined, and confirmed by science. But if those practices had been ignored entirely, many modern treatments wouldn't exist. The same applies to psychology, nutrition, and even human communication. What begins as an unproven idea can eventually become a standard practice. And even if some ideas never become scientific, they can still hold value in understanding people. Patients aren't robots. They come with beliefs, traditions, and personal frameworks for making sense of the world. Learning outside traditional science gives you the tools to meet them where they are. It helps you build trust, connection, and understanding. It equips you to work with human beings, not just human bodies. When you embrace all forms of learning, you're not abandoning science. You're expanding it. You're keeping the door open for possibilities that the evidence hasn't caught up to yet, and that's how progress begins, with the courage to learn from every source available, even the ones the textbooks haven't written about yet. Understanding patients requires connecting with them mentally and emotionally. You can have the best medical knowledge in the world. You can diagnose with precision and treat with skill. But if you can't connect with the person in front of you, you'll never truly understand them. A patient is more than their medical chart. They're more than numbers, scans, and lab results. They are human beings with fears, hopes, doubts, and stories. If you only treat the symptoms, you miss the person living with them. Connecting mentally means taking the time to understand how they think. It means listening to the words they use, the way they describe their pain, the way they explain their worries. It means noticing patterns in their thoughts, their habits, and even their silences. It's about seeing the way their mind is processing what's happening to them. Connecting emotionally means recognizing what they feel even when they don't say it out loud. Fear shows in the way someone avoids eye contact. Anxiety shows in the way they speak too fast or not at all. Hope shows in the way their shoulders lift when they trust you. When you understand a patient's emotional state, you can tailor not just the treatment, but the way you deliver it. Sometimes the way you explain a diagnosis can either empower them or crush them. Sometimes the tone of your voice can either calm their fear or feed it. And sometimes the most healing thing you can give them is the sense that they're not alone. This is why trust is such a powerful medicine. When patients feel seen and heard, they open up more. They share details they might have kept hidden. and those details can make all the difference in diagnosis and recovery. Understanding a patient on a mental and emotional level requires patience. It requires stepping out of the rush and giving them your full attention, even if it's just for a few minutes. It's resisting the urge to interrupt. It's letting them finish their thought, even if you think you already know the answer. It's remembering that this might be the worst day of their life, and you might be the one person who can make it feel a little less overwhelming. This kind of connection isn't soft or sentimental. It's strategic. It builds cooperation. It improves compliance with treatment. It creates a partnership between doctor and patient instead of a one-way instruction. When you connect with someone mentally and emotionally, you're not just treating a case, you're treating a person. And when that person feels understood, they're more likely to fight for their own health alongside you. That's when medicine works at its highest level, when skill meets understanding and knowledge meets humanity. Dismissing ideas without investigation limits growth. It's easy to reject something the moment it doesn't fit into your current beliefs. It's easy to say, that's wrong, or that's useless, without taking the time to understand it, but that reaction closes the door before you even know what's on the other side. Every idea, no matter how strange it seems at first, deserves at least a moment of curiosity. Some of the greatest breakthroughs in history started as ideas people laughed at. When as Semmelweis suggested doctors should wash their hands, the medical community mocked him. When people first spoke of flying machines, they were told it was impossible. When the concept of germs was introduced, it sounded like fantasy. If those ideas had been dismissed without investigation, progress would have stalled. Investigation doesn't mean blind acceptance. It means testing, questioning, exploring, and challenging. It means looking at an idea from every angle to see if there's truth hidden inside it. Sometimes you'll find the idea was wrong, but the process of examining it will lead you to something valuable you didn't expect. Other times you'll find the idea was partly right and can be refined into something powerful. Either way, you grow. When you dismiss ideas immediately, you don't just reject the idea, you reject the chance to learn. You deny yourself the opportunity to sharpen your thinking. You cut off a path that could have taken you somewhere new. Growth requires openness. It requires humility to admit you don't know everything. It requires curiosity to explore what doesn't make sense yet. Sometimes the value of investigating an idea isn't in proving it true or false, but in the skills you develop while testing it. You learn to gather evidence. You learn to separate facts from opinions. You learn to recognize patterns and spot weaknesses in arguments. These are the same skills that make you better at solving problems in every area of life. In medicine, business, science, and relationships, the ability to investigate before you judge is what separates innovators from followers. If you only accept what you already understand, you'll never go beyond your current limits. You'll be stuck inside the same walls you've built around your thinking, and those walls will become your prison. But when you stay open to exploring new ideas, you create possibilities. You give yourself more tools, more perspectives, and more chances to grow. Even if 90% of what you investigate turns out to be wrong, the 10% that works could change everything. You'll never know unless you look. Because growth doesn't come from defending what you already believe, it comes from challenging it. Curiosity is the fuel for breakthroughs in both science and life. It's the spark that pushes you to ask why, when others simply accept things as they are. It's the voice in your head that says, what if there's another way? Without curiosity, there is no progress. Every discovery, every invention, every leap forward in human history started with someone being curious. Curiosity is what made humans look up at the stars and wonder what's out there. It's what made explorers sail into the unknown. It's what drove scientists to peer through microscopes and discover an entire invisible world. It's what inspired doctors to experiment with new treatments when old ones failed. Curiosity doesn't wait for permission. It doesn't care if an idea seems strange or impossible. It asks questions anyway, and it keeps asking until answers are found. In science, curiosity is the first step before research, before experiments, before results. It pushes you to notice patterns, question assumptions, and dig deeper when something doesn't add up. It makes you pay attention to small details others overlook. Sometimes the smallest observation, a tiny inconsistency, an odd reaction, a strange behavior can lead to a breakthrough that changes everything. In life, curiosity keeps you growing. It makes you interested in people, in places, in experiences you haven't had yet. It pushes you to read books, to ask questions, to travel, to learn skills you didn't think you needed. It turns routine into discovery. It transforms problems into puzzles to be solved instead of burdens to be endured. Curiosity requires a certain courage, because asking questions often means stepping into the unknown. It means admitting you don't have all the answers. It means risking failure in the search for understanding. But that risk is where all the rewards lie. Without curiosity, you're trapped inside what you already know. With it, you open doors to possibilities you couldn't imagine before. The most successful scientists, leaders, and innovators all share the same trait: they never stopped being curious. They questioned rules, they challenged traditions, they refused to believe something just because it had always been done that way. Curiosity is not just about seeking knowledge, it's about being hungry for it. It's about chasing it relentlessly, even when it's inconvenient or difficult. It's about seeing learning as an adventure instead of an obligation. In both science and life, the ones who make the biggest impact are not always the ones with the most resources. They are the ones with the most curiosity. Because curiosity will take you places that money, talent, and even education can't. It will lead you to connections no one else sees. It will drive you to keep going when others stop. And it will make sure that no matter how much you've learned, you're always ready to discover more. Use what's useful, discard what isn't, but always stay open-minded. Not every idea you encounter will be right for you. Not every piece of advice will fit your situation. Not every method will work in every case, but that doesn't mean the idea has no value at all. It might be valuable to someone else. It might be valuable to you in the future. Or it might lead you to think in a way you never considered before. The skill is in taking what works and letting go of what doesn't without closing your mind in the process. An open mind doesn't mean accepting everything as truth. It means being willing to consider it. It means testing it. It means looking at it from different angles before deciding whether it belongs in your toolkit. The danger comes when people become so rigid that they reject anything unfamiliar. They lock themselves inside their own beliefs. They refuse to update their thinking even when better options appear. And over time, they fall behind. Growth is about constant adjustment. You try something. If it works, you keep it. If it doesn't, you let it go. But you never stop looking for the next thing that might help you improve. This applies in science, in medicine, in business, and in life. A treatment that works for one patient might not work for another. A strategy that works in one situation might fail in the next. That's why you have to stay flexible. Being open-minded allows you to adapt. It lets you pivot quickly when circumstances change. It keeps you from clinging to outdated methods just because they're familiar. And it opens the door to innovation because you're willing to experiment. The truth is, you can learn from almost anything, even from something you ultimately reject, even from an idea you don't agree with. Because in the process of examining it, you might discover a principle or insight that you can apply somewhere else. When you approach the world with this mindset, everything becomes a potential source of growth. You stop fearing new information. You stop feeling threatened by different opinions. Instead, you start asking, what can I take from this that will make me better? That's how progress is made, by collecting the best from many sources, refining it, and leaving the rest behind. The goal isn't to be right all the time. The goal is to be willing to evolve, to let your knowledge expand as you encounter new experiences, new evidence, and new perspectives. Use what's useful, discard what isn't. But keep the door of your mind unlocked, because the next idea that changes everything might be the one you almost ignored. True medical mastery comes from understanding the whole human experience. It's not just about knowing anatomy, biology, and pharmacology. It's about understanding the person who is living inside that body. It's about seeing more than the illness in front of you. It's about seeing the life, the history, and the emotions that shape how that illness affects them. A patient is not just a case file. They are a combination of physical health, mental state, emotional resilience, and personal beliefs. If you treat only one of those layers, you're leaving the others untouched. And sometimes, the real healing happens in those other layers. Pain is not always just physical. Anxiety is not always just mental. Both can influence each other in powerful ways. A broken spirit can slow physical recovery. A hopeful mindset can speed it up. When you understand the whole human experience, you see how everything is connected. You understand how stress, relationships, environment, and lifestyle all shape health outcomes. You notice how a person's culture and values influence the way they respond to treatment. You see that healing isn't always about medication alone. Sometimes it's about changing habits, rebuilding confidence, or restoring hope. True medical mastery means knowing when to speak and when to listen. It means recognizing that a conversation can be as important as a prescription. It means understanding that your role is not just to fix what's broken, but to guide someone through one of the most vulnerable moments of their life. It also means respecting the individuality of every patient. Two people can have the same diagnosis but completely different experiences. One might approach it with determination. The other might be overwhelmed with fear. Your approach has to adapt to each person's reality, not just their condition. You can't see that if you're only looking at the disease. You have to see the human being carrying it. This is why the best doctors are also great observers. They notice the small things, the way someone answers a question, the way their body tenses when they talk, the way their tone changes when they mention certain topics. Those details give you clues no test result can provide. And they allow you to treat the person, not just the problem. When you combine medical knowledge with human understanding, you create trust. When trust is there, patients follow advice more willingly. They share important information more openly, and they fight for their own recovery with more strength. That's the real power of medicine, not just in curing disease, but in helping people reclaim their lives. And that power only comes when you choose to understand the whole human experience, not just the science that explains part of it. So as you step into the world of medicine, remember this: you are not just here to treat bodies, you are here to understand people. Learn the science, master the skills, but never lose sight of the human being in front of you. Every patient you meet is a story in progress, and for a moment, you get to be part of that story. Make your part count. Bring your knowledge, bring your discipline, but also bring your empathy, your curiosity, and your willingness to listen. Because true healing isn't just measured in test results, it's measured in the lives you touch, the trust you earn, and the hope you help restore. That is where real medical mastery lies.